Hello you, thank you so much for clicking on my video today, and thank you so much for the support thus far. Welcome to my home in the mountains of Austria. If it's your first time watching me, my name is Elizabeth. You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Watch until the end, and then you will have a better perspective of whether you would like to subscribe or not. If you choose not to subscribe, at least leave me a like, because it helps with the algorithm and this video can be suggested to others. I do not advertise because I don't do this for money. I just do it because I love doing it. I love YouTube. I just love having my own space here. Like I said, I'm trying to create a community of thinkers, and I don't even have like a studio. I just record from literally my home. And again, thank you so much for the people who are coming back. Why do I live in Austria? It's because I got together with an Austrian guy, and then I decided to follow him to his country. At first, we traveled together. We traveled to many countries. If you'd like to see some of those photos, you can find them on my Instagram. And I decided to stay in Austria. I am mostly here because apart from it being a very well-developed country, a first world country, this is where I wanted to settle down in my marriage life. Maybe I can add that I love the safety that I feel when I'm in Austria. For instance, one of the things I noticed is that out here I don't really worry about where I leave my phone, because high chances are that I will find it there. Even if it's like at a restaurant, at the mall, high chances is that, you can be a little bit careless with your private property. I'm not saying that there's no possibility that somebody steals it, but it's just like a really low possibility, like low possibility to be pickpocketed, low possibility that you meet people who harass you and try to take your personal belongings. You don't need to like obsessively check if you've closed your gate or your main door. Like such things, just like you immediately see the difference in a first world nation, because people are employed and therefore a lot of them have an income, so that desperation is not there where people will take other people's belongings by force. Crime is at an all-time low, so just the safety, especially as a woman, is one of the reasons why I really enjoy living here, and why I said I'd rather like be in a first world nation in Austria. Anyways, back to the video. And so consecutively, living here consecutively has been since 2019, thereabout, because I would travel back and forth. And right now, I could say 80% of my time is spent in Austria, and then about 20% of my time is spent in Kenya, where I have managed to acquire some property, and I'm still trying to build my portfolio in Kenya. So I do go back and forth, because I'm not one of those diasporas who intend on dying abroad. God forbid, I don't want to die young, but I'm not one of those people who intend on dying away from home. For me, bring me back to my country, bring me back to my African soil, bring me back to where my people are at, and let my soul rest in peace there. Hopefully not soon, but if ever I am to choose between retiring here and retiring at home in Kenya, I will choose Kenya. Because go east, go west, home is best, and my soul is African. It belongs to the African soil. Now, obviously, living in the West, there are some benefits here. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of job opportunities here. Kenya is still a developing country, so basically we are still working on a lot of things. And out here in Austria, for instance, there is better governance, better medical care, better education, better job opportunities. However, there's a lot of people who come out here from other countries. It doesn't have to be necessarily Kenya, just any other country from the African continent, and they do not really meet their goals as quickly as some of us have been able to do so. So I want to tell people, like, what are some of the things that they do wrong, or what are some of the things that they can improve on. On this video, I obviously run the risk of sounding like Candice Owens. If you've been watching her, you know how she can be very know-it-all, and she can come out as very condescending, or like they say in German, herablassend, and like somebody has their nose up in the air and they're telling you how to live your life. I am so sorry that I might come out that way. That's not my intention at all. Let's just talk about some of the things that you can do as a foreigner coming out to the West in order to be able to achieve the goals that made you come out here. And I'm going to point out at some of the things that people get wrong, hence they are not able to tick off their to-do list. You know how in life you have a to-do list. I don't know about you, but I have mine. I always had mine. I wanted to travel. I wanted to get married. I wanted to own property. Like, there are things that you write down, and I can maybe tell you where I feel with my experience living here and also having come from a developing country, I feel like certain people get it all wrong. And so maybe I can share with you some tips and tricks. Again, welcome to my video. First things first, I feel like a lot of foreigners from developing countries come out to the West starry-eyed. Like, you come out here with the image that Hollywood has sold you since you were a little child. Because we grew up watching American films, in Kenya for instance, British films. We are a former British colony. So we grow up with images that have been curated very carefully, because remember, the Western world has been showing us their best and showing the world our worst. If you look at BBC and CNN over the years, they are slowly improving, but for the most part, when you are shown the African continent, you are only shown disease, war, famine, and then when you are shown Europe, you are only shown the nice things about Europe. Never mind that in Eastern Europe, there are some very poor countries there. Some of them are even poorer than countries on the African continent. They never showed us they are poor, they are broke, they are broken systems. They only showed us what they wanted us to see. And so that shapes a certain narrative in the mind of an African. You come out here expecting that you're only going to make it, like there's no other option, because money is just falling from the skies and trees do not have leaves, they have euros instead of leaves. So that's like the image that we come out here with, and I was a little bit of a victim of that, because I thought that when I come out here I will be embraced. So I wasn't ready for the cultural difference, and I've talked about this in different videos. We as Africans are called hospitable for a reason. You know how in Kenya, I'll use Kenya as an example, mzungu akikuja kutembea. That is basically when a white person, that is Swahili which I just spoke, when a white person comes to visit our country or our continent, and he's coming to visit a family that is to host him. You are all woken up in the morning, you are asked to help around the house, help to make the house clean, clean up everything, cook, pikieni mzungu, cook for the white guy, cook for the white lady, let us give her a nice welcome, let her go back to her people saying that we are good people and that we received her well. That is Africans for you. Very hospitable, warm people. We will come to the airport to pick you up, about 20 of us. Like the whole goddamn family, including the small children. We are coming to pick you up so you can come and feel welcomed and not feel afraid. And again, I like to say that is how we were colonized, because we thought they were friends right before they pulled the dagger and told us land now. And they overtook our lands. A video for another day. I will talk about all these videos that I keep on saying that are video for another day. If you like my channel so far, remind me to talk about these things. So anyways, we are hospitable like that, and so I expected the same from the West, and I got a rude shock. Were they intentionally being rude? Not necessarily. They were just living according to the way they've always lived, according to their culture. They were just going about their business. They pay very high taxes in the Western world, and so they're always working, and they don't have great weather like we have. We have tropical weather throughout the year in Kenya, for instance. We talk about winter in June and July. I put that in quotes because it's a joke. And for a very long time, I used to say, why do Wazungus not wear sweaters? Mzungu is actually a word that means a white person. It's not an offensive term. It can be used for both men and women. And the plural of that is Wazungus. It means white people. So we used to be like, why do Wazungus not wear sweaters even though it's cold outside? It was 10 degrees outside, 12, 15 degrees. Now that I've lived in the West, I know that's a joke. We don't have any cold on our continent. That's a joke. And if you don't come out here mentally prepared for the very harsh climate, very, very cold winters, then it could be very shocking to you as a person, and it could derail you or slow you down because you're not expecting that there is a place where people live like that and they still have to wake up in the morning to go to school, to go to work. So you have to come here mentally prepared for a shock in weather change. Things, they act in certain ways that are very different. When I would come to the airport and then certain relatives of my hubby would tell me that I'll see you when I see you, like just give me a call, let me know you've reached. I used to be like, that would never happen in Kenya. People literally take a day off just to come get you at the airport because you are a in-law, you are here, welcome, we miss you, there's food at home. So when I would go home and there's no food cooked, I would be like, what's even going on? Like my husband would be like, we'll take takeout and then we'll cook tomorrow when we've rested. It used to be such a shocker to me, but it's just the cold European way of life. I put that in quotes because we are also not, all of us are not warm on the African continent. These are only stereotypes, but of course, you know, there's some truth behind it, right? A majority of the people will act that way. Obviously, there's exceptions, but like I like to say, exceptions do not make the general rule, and I don't care about being politically correct. I will just tell the truth the way it is. And I am here to confirm that the rumors you've been hearing since you were a child growing up in Kenya, for instance, that don't expect that great hospitality that we have at home towards visitors, do not expect it to be reciprocated in the West. I'm here to confirm that the rumors are true. The rumors are true. I used to be very surprised when I would sometimes arrive at the airport and I get a text to get a train so I can just meet whoever I was to meet at home. And I would be like, what? You're making me come all the way? But of course, again, there's exceptions. There are people who will never let their visitor bring themselves to the house. In most African homes, you know, that seldom ever happens. The whole family, including the little children, come to get you. They will dance and sing for you. And out here it's like, yeah, it's their way of life. Plus, again, like I mentioned, they pay very high taxes. Most of the times they are working. They're just, you know, in a place with bad weather most of the times. So people are also not in that mood of like, you know, welcoming outsiders. And you know what I mean. Like if you've lived on both continents, you know exactly what I mean. People are not cooking up a storm just because there's a visitor coming. Like we could take out and nobody frowns. Maybe they might cook something if they had the time. Nobody frowns. But you know, in an African household, that is like, what? You got KFC for the guest? Are you out of your mind? Like in an African home, that's a big deal. But you go to Rome, you do what the Romans do. Like I like to say, there's no right or wrong culture. It's just different, right? So that expectation that you come with out there, you will be disappointed. And if you do not have shock absorbers, if you're not ready to be quote unquote ignored, you might feel depressed right from the get-go, and then you won't put too much effort. I want you to be well prepared and know that it is nothing personal. Just come out here and do whatever it is that brought you out here. Whether it's school, whether it's marriage, whether it's work, concentrate on that. So the other day I was doing research online and I came across these numbers. Up to 33.2% of Africans living in Europe were found to be depressed. Another study which looked at African asylums, migrants, refugees reported high rates of depression all the way to 67%. Another study attempted to compare black people from the Caribbean to Europeans in the UK, and they found that black Caribbean individuals had 17.7%, significantly lower to white Europeans, which was at 9.7%. Basically, there are high rates of immigrants who are depressed. Maybe it's because of not having family abroad, so they feel isolated in society. They don't have people to talk to. It's a question of being discriminated, facing racism, not being able to get work. It's a question of maybe they are refugee people who have not gotten proper treatment from PTSD because they come from a country that had war and they're just from losing their whole family to war, etc., etc. But basically, these are some of the things that you can start curbing right from the get-go by knowing that you're going into a different culture where people are not going to run to you with their arms opened because of cultural difference. If you can just start mentally by preparing yourself to the fact that there's a lot of people who look like you in that country who are depressed and you don't want to be one of them. The other thing is that they are not very social like us. You don't meet a white person out here in Europe, Western Europe again, in a bar, and the next time you see them, you refer to them as a friend, like in Kenya. We trust very quickly, and then if you betray us, that's it. We are never going to see eye to eye again. In the West, it's sort of like the opposite, where they approach with suspicion. Again, this goes back to their history. They have done all sorts of wonders around the world, from slave trade to colonialism. So they are very alert. They know that people could just decide to avenge any day, any time. These are the people who came from like a very barbaric time, the Vikings, the Germanic tribe. They know about bloodshed. It's all over their history. So they're very suspicious people. And once they see you, they want to see what you're all about. And then eventually they might warm up to you if they feel like you deserve for them to warm up to you. It's just a cultural difference. Again, there is no right or wrong culture in my book. It is just a cultural difference. Accept it as it is. A lot of Africans come out here and struggle with that. You struggle with not being accepted, and you struggle with people not being friendly towards you. I mean, Austrians, for instance, are friendly in the sense that they will say hi to you when they see you outside. They will say hi to you at the supermarket, but they're not your friends. It's not like in Kenya where you could just call them up and tell them like your problem and they will rush to your house. Very few, like exceptions. They don't, hawazoeani hivo in Swahili, for lack of a better word. Hawazoeani hivo, the culture is not like that, okay? They're not like us where you know, if you've lived in both the West and in our homes, you know what I'm talking about. I'm struggling a little bit here with the words because you can't even describe it in words unless you've experienced it, but you have to be able to accept it. When you come out here to Europe, nobody really tells us, because I was also wondering. I mean, I know that in Germany they speak German, here in Austria they speak German, in France they speak French, in Italy they speak Italian. We know these things, but nobody tells you that that is all they are willing to speak officially. They could speak to you in English unofficially, but if you're going to work in their offices, their language of business is usually their mother tongue. Because basically, German is my husband's mother tongue. You see, in Kenya, we have over 40 tribes. That essentially means over 40 different languages. And I need people who are going to watch this video to listen to this part very carefully. We have over 40 languages, not dialects, languages like French and German. Languages that do not sound the same at all and do not have the same words at all. So, for us to be able to communicate with one another in Kenya, because there are many languages, we have a national language called Swahili. And then we have the official language, English, because we are a former British colony. So when visitors come, we meet them in the middle with English. We don't expect them to know Kikuyu, for instance, which is my mother tongue, or Swahili, which is my national language, our national language. We meet them in the middle with what they know. They don't do the same for us. Let me underline and highlight that Europeans do not extend the same courtesy back. As a matter of fact, in some of these Western countries, they are almost offended that you cannot speak their language. You approach them and you see the facial expressions, and some of them will even tell you directly, how about you learn German? Lernst du bitte Deutsch? Okay, if you go to France, I was there on holiday. In some places, they were not willing to speak any other language to me apart from French. Even though it was clear that I was a tourist, I was asking questions that only a tourist will ask. I was explaining in sign language. Do not expect that the same courtesy is extended out here. That is something else that really discourages a lot of foreigners, a lot of people who come out here to work or to study. You're just like, oh my gosh, because you're thinking, in my land, my country, we always like try to meet you in the middle so you're not so frustrated while looking for work. Like, I've worked in offices in Nairobi where they were German people. We didn't talk to them in Swahili, we talked to them in English because we knew that they are not going to take the time to learn Swahili, and we don't expect them to, or any of one of our 40 languages. So this is something else that sends a lot of African immigrants straight to depression, because now you cannot find work. Probably you don't have money to start learning the language. Like, you have to come out here expecting all these things. So you're not shocked and feeling sad and isolated from society. So you come out here confident and even start with whatever broken level of their language that you're at, and just keep on a positive attitude. It is an issue. I didn't know how big of an issue it was until I moved here. It is an issue, especially in government offices. We don't expect them to know Kikuyu, for instance, which is my mother tongue, or Swahili, which is my national language, our national language. We meet them in the middle with what they know. They do not do the same for us. They look you straight in the eye and tell you learn German. They're not, sometimes in some cases, thank God, I've been very lucky to like meet a lot of people who can speak good English, but in some cases they tell you learn, Deutsch lernen, learn Deutsch. Deutsch is German for German. They tell you to learn their language. You go to France, they're not willing to speak any English, learn French or leave. So it's like very cutthroat, very like, you know, a lot of Africans get a lot of shock from that. It's like, wow. The way us people are very welcoming to you people, how we just meet you in the middle with a language that is familiar to you. We offer you a job even without speaking a word of our language. The only thing you can say is Jambo Rafiki, right? Hakuna Matata. But still we offer you jobs in our countries because we meet you in the middle with English. You guys are not even willing to take 1 or 2 steps to meet us. Not even in the middle, nearly in the middle. Some Africans come out here and they get discouraged because of that, because not all of us are good at languages. I know I'm not good at languages. I know that even though I've been here for some time, my German is still very broken. Some people are sharp with languages. They can speak 6, 7 languages. Some of us are not blessed that way. We are blessed in other ways. But still, you have got, like me, I've been working in the West for some time. I normally don't just sit at home. And for you to even be considered for employment, you have to speak their language. So whether you like it or not, you have to accept that. Have the right attitude towards that. If you start complaining, what are you achieving by just complaining? If you go to Italy, just accept that the Italians will expect you to speak Italian. Now, some of you get shy because you're like, oh, I sound so stupid. I'm speaking it in a very broken way. I am speaking it like a child. It's okay. Italians can see that you're a foreigner. They can hear it in your accent. It's like in Kenya, if you're a Kenyan watching me, I've been using this example. You know how Indian people, the Indian community, don't really bother to learn Swahili very well. And so a lot of them, not all of them, some of them learn it very well, especially those from down coast. But you know how there's a lot of them in Nairobi who say things such as, Mimi taka enda town, when they're supposed to be saying, nataka kwenda town. So we understand what they mean. Even though it's broken, we understand. It's a Indian who doesn't speak my language very well, but I understand what it means. It's the same out here. Speak it broken. They will understand you. Like, Austrians are not stupid. When I tell them broken Dutch, they know what I want to say. So it's fine. Speak it broken. The other thing is that you cannot be picky with work. One of the reasons that a lot of foreigners get very, very discouraged out here and you end up not having enough money is that you are very picky with work. You're like, oh, you know, I was a CEO in Kenya. I was working at a top bank. I was working in finance. I was an accountant. How dare you tell me to be a waitress? How dare you tell me to work at a supermarket? Good luck with that attitude. As a foreigner, as a refugee, as an immigrant, or whatever you may be coming out to the West, you have to be willing to take up jobs in the blue-collar industry. Even if you are only corporate, always corporate, you are always in the white-collar industry, you have to realize that now you're not home. You're not home, and you've got to make ends meet. For you to be corporate, probably you need to have a network here, and it takes years to build one. Probably you have to be fluent in the language of the country that you find yourself in, which takes time. Probably you have to have some kind of, footing, some kind of foundation, which takes time. So if you come out here, you have to be willing to stop telling people how you're too qualified for that, you're too qualified for that. You would never be a waiter, you would never work at a cash desk of a supermarket, or you would never, you will suffer. You will suffer. That's another thing that leads some people into depression, because they're not willing to get down from their high horse. I mean, it's okay to be proud that, you are overqualified, you're a lawyer from your country, you used to be in government, you used to hold a high position. That's all good, and it's a good thing. I will never knock that hustle. We need to have people in high positions. But now that you're not home, you have to start somewhere. And if you're not willing to, again, come down that high horse and realize that you might have to take up jobs in the blue-collar industry in the beginning, then, my friend, you'll have a tough time. You'll have a tough time out here. My advice would be to just start somewhere. Start and build your confidence in the new country, because it'll even help you practice the language. It'll help you interact with the locals. You have to start somewhere. You can't afford to say that you're too good to do something, yet you're not home. Why do you care? You're not home. They don't know you. They're not your people. Why do you care? Lower your pride a little bit. I am not blind or naive to the fact that I also had a smooth start. I know there's a huge disclaimer there. I got together with a man of means, somebody who had planned his life accordingly, and therefore I didn't struggle in the beginning. I'm not blind to that. I am humbled by it, and I'm very grateful to it. So maybe as a foreigner, if you're coming out here single, consider marrying a local. I've been called a gold digger before by everybody and their mothers, but do you care? If you're a foreigner who cares about what people will say, that, oh shit, this person went out there and just went and looked for the sharks of that neighborhood and married one of them. So effing what? If you're going to end up earning property faster, because if you take up a job and in Kenyan shillings, it's about maybe per month in Kenyan shillings, if you convert it, it's over 200,000 Kenyan shillings a month. And you don't have rent to pay out here because you got together with somebody who already has a house, and you don't have maybe things that you need to pay, like bills, electricity, whatever, because you're a married person who your spouse pays all those things. Do you see how you're able to send a lot of money back home and just save up and just grow your bank account? If you cannot think the way I think and you worry too much what people will say, again, good luck. You will be one of those Africans who keep on complaining about racism, about how the West is a bad place, when you could have very easily just come out here and gotten together with the wolves of the country and the sharks of the country. Get together with people who already have a career. Get together with people who know their way around, whether it's in the corporate world, whether it's in business, whether it's in politics. They know what they're doing. They're at home. It is their people, their culture, their language. They know how to move. Don't come out here and get together with a beginner like yourself. This is just my own personal philosophy. You do not have to follow it. But don't come out here and get together with a fellow migrant who just got here, who is trying to just make it out here. You'll waste a lot of time. Unless, of course, that fellow migrant is also a wolf and a shark from whatever country you come from. They know how to climb real quick. They know how to maneuver real quick. They are good at languages, and they come out here and they master the language, whether it's French, German, whatever it is. They master it in a month. There are people who are like that. They master things real quick. Then, of course, you can be with a fellow foreigner like yourself, which is rare. Such special people are rare. Normally, if you're with a fellow foreigner, it'll be like a blind person leading another blind person. Again, on my YouTube channel, I just speak my mind. I don't care for judgment. I know some people might not agree with me when I say that you should date up and not on your level, not on the same social class as you. Some people might find that to be ish, but why should I lie? Who am I trying to impress here? It doesn't escape my mind that I had a head start in some ways by going for the shark. Like, go for the one who you know makes that kill real quick. Don't date people on your level. Date people who are already established. You found them already with a home. I mean, if you're a single girl or a single man, that's what I would tell you to do. Do what I did. Like, come out here and hold hands with the person who already knows how the game is played, so you don't waste a lot of time, and they will mentor you, so you won't suffer too much. I mean, of course, you can also start from the bottom, and I really, really, really respect people who started from the bottom. Of course, I must respect them because I know how hard it is to move countries, to start everything, but make it easier for yourself by just, if you're single, go for the wolves of the country that you find yourself in. Go for the sharks. Go for the ones who already understand how deep the waters are. They already know what they are doing. That would be my free advice to you. And if you want to judge me for that, judge away, but I know it works. If you cannot think the way I think and you worry too much what people will say, again, good luck. You will be one of those Africans who keep on complaining about racism, about how the West is a bad place, but then you cannot go home because there's nothing you have invested back home, and now you don't even have money in your bank account. Do you think the world cares? Nobody cares. And I don't mean to be cold. I don't mean to sound like somebody who is indifferent to the suffering of others. I fully understand suffering, but help yourself. Never sit there feeling sorry for yourself and thinking that I cannot swim, so I will just sit here and wait for rescue boats. Float, because you never know if the rescue boats come or not. You have got to just start, my dear, start. There's even foreigners, and I've said this before in other videos. There are foreigners out here who say that they will not start working until they can speak fluently, until they can speak the local languages fluently. If it's in Italy, they say they will not start working until they can speak fluent Italian. If it's in France, I will not start working until I can speak like a Frenchman. If it's out here in Austria, I will not start working until I can speak Dutch, until I can speak German. My friend, money is passing you as you watch. You are finally in a first world country where there are jobs. You are finally in a country where you can be paid according to the service that you give. You're not underpaid. Aki watu ni nini mnatakaga? Like, what do you want out of life? Do you just want to be spoon-fed? Like, what do you want? All the opportunities are there staring at you. And the other mistake I think a lot of people make, and this is mostly for the females, is that once you get together with a man of means, you just don't see that there's a possibility that you guys will maybe not get along. There's a possibility that you might have cultural problems. So now when you guys are not getting along, you don't know what to do next with your life because you didn't plan ahead. You didn't look for a job because, hey, I am married to somebody who can pay all the bills. Stop making that mistake. Like, how many people have to make that mistake for you to finally see that there's a hole, and if I'm not careful, I'll fall right inside of that hole. Do not just sit around too comfortable in people's countries, in people's homes. Anything can happen anytime. God forbid that one day the Austrian government wakes up, far right gets elected, and they start ringing bell to bell, bell to bell, bell to bell. If you are not born in this country, pack and go. Be ready for the worst in life. I think there's a lot of people who don't have that readiness and who are too... I'm not trying to be pessimistic, I'm being realistic. There are people who are too optimistic like children. Like you're just thinking like a child. You have to be ready for anything. Be ready for if that marriage does not work out. Be ready for if one day the very far right is elected and they are consulting with Nick Fuentes from America and they are just kicking out everybody who was not born in the West. Be ready for when the aliens come. You know, aliens might just land from planet Mars. Like, be ready, right? Have shock absorbers. So these are some of the things that make a lot of foreigners feel disappointed. A lot of foreigners feel like they failed. A lot of foreigners get into depression. Be ready. I think being a girl guides are the little girls who are like scouts, the little boys who are scouts. And me being a girl guide from the time I was very young in primary school back at home in Kenya, it really helped me with readiness. I was trained that way to just be ready. So I normally advocate, by the way, for people to, like, in extracurricular activities, let your kids join the scouting movement, let them be girl guides. It really prepares them. I still remember the scarf which we used to wear. I still remember how we used to, like, have our uniforms very neat, how we used to raise the flag at school. It really helps psychologically with a kid just being ready. Actually, I think that's the tagline we used to use as scouts and girl guides. So I think those are some of the reasons that I could come up from the top of my head. I do not script my videos. I just sit at home and talk. This is some of the things that foreigners come out here and things don't work out the way they thought they would work out. Those are some of the challenges, and maybe by me putting it out there, you can be a little bit better prepared. Thank you so much for watching. If there's anything you liked, be sure to support me, subscribe to my channel. I will be very happy to continue making content from you because like I said, I don't do it for money. I actually enjoy doing this. Be blessed, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.